I guess then the next thing we would move on to is your view on paranormal, your personal view, I guess, and chasing beer.
Yeah, this is probably going to upset a few of the die-hard paranormal people out there who goes, I need stern evidence to believe that there's something in the afterlife and there's ghosts and all this. To me, I go straight up and say, yeah, it's there. Okay, it's energy, we're all energy. That's been proven in modern physics. What we are made of is just molecules which are held together by energy. And homes, places have energy. And sometimes people who depart this world in a very dramatic fashion sometimes can leave an imprint in the actual environment, which can cause a ripple effect for a place to be haunted.
Yeah.
And another point what I'm getting at that now is that 9 times out of 10 a home isn't necessarily haunted by a person who has passed. Most of the cases I've done, apart from working with you guys, I've done also a lot of space clearings with other people. And 9 times out, it's just bad feng shui. Simple as that, you know? And what happens then, if you can start thinking that a corner of, oh, don't like that, it gives me the creeps.
We've got a topic about it. You talked about this before, didn't we?
Yeah.
I remember this, yeah.
And it gives you the creeps that corner. I don't know why, it's something bad. And as soon as you start giving the energy, like a creepy, creep, something from outside, you start feeding this corner. And this corner does actually become to what people would describe as a haunted place, you know?
Yeah.
So then it'll become, because you're sending the energy and feeding it, and it'll become haunted. You know, 9 times out of 10, it's our creation.
So you know, when somebody passes or when somebody dies, do you believe that every location becomes haunted? Or is it, if a case has a bad history, or if some place has a bad history, it's more likely to be haunted?
Yeah.
Yeah?
And spirits are around all the time, around us everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, that's another point, is how many ghosts would you have seen today without even realising? Just by walking down the street, a crowded street of people, there could have been 3 or 4 people, could have been just, as we would call it, ghosts, you know? But it's just our psyche in our mind, you know, because we're little humans, we just can't really open it up that much for us to be able to take things in, for us to end up in the funny houses of it.
Yes.
So, I think the next thing we're going to probably shift on to is a topic that we're going to be doing with yourself quite shortly, where we are looking for, how can I put it, people willing to come in and try something with us. We're doing a thing called past life regression. I believe that's what we're trying. So before we move on to Martin, I think I will pick on you again.
Oh, excellent.
And your view on past life regression, maybe your beliefs, I guess, as well.
Yeah. Okay, from past life regression, I would say from a shamanic viewpoint, I think it's not such as a past life, but it's like an ancestral kind of vibration. I feel this is quite hard to explain in a nutshell, but I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
I mean, like in shamanic terms, I mean, when we're here in this incarnation, we're also living in parallel our past lives, as you would call it. But they're right here along us, it's our little paths as we're going across the planes with just different vibrations. And for me, sometimes the past lives can come into ours and cross over. And sometimes that's where we get reminders of where we are, and sometimes a strange flashback or some familiar habit that we're not quite sure. Even sometimes could be down to deja vu as well. So, oh, I've been here before, you know? So that's past life from a shamanic perspective. And what we do for regressive terms and the healing technique, you know, we'll go on ancestry trails and we'll go back through our ancestors, you know, in a meditation or shamanic journey, and we'll go and explore it that way. And a few times I've run into a few myself, past lives, and I'm thinking, wow, okay, I've been this little traveller in this Siberian tundra, sat around the campfire and throwing these stones in, casting these little bits of wood. I was doing a room casting, that's what it felt to me. And I looked down and I see my attire, these particular boots, you know, and I come back and say, oh right, that was a past life. So I'm sure because, you know, we're just energy, we do continue and continue, and come back and go, and come back and go, and you know, our souls last for an eternity, really. So that's a shamanic.
I've always believed that your soul will last forever, and when you die, you're reincarnated as somebody else, and something completely different. And I believe that when you're sleeping, your mind becomes a lot stronger, and you can see more things because you're using more of your brain. And you sometimes pick on something that you've done in the past, or something which maybe you haven't done yet, that is there, that is in your mind, but you're not sure. You can't kind of visually interpret it, you know. There's always fragments, you know, and you don't always see things very clearly, you know. And, I think
that's your
that's
tie down on
yeah,
past life regression.
pretty much.
Okay, so I think what we're going to do now, I don't mean to be rude, turn around all the time, we are trying to work our way through a bit of a mic issue, I think, so I'm going to pick on people when we do talk, guys, try and talk a little bit louder, I think it is, but we are trying to work our ways through it at the moment, little teething problems, so just bear with us.
Talk a bit louder.
Okay, shout to the mic, don't be afraid. Bad mic, is that better? So I'm going to hand the microphone over to Martyn to talk more about this lovely little experiment. We're hoping to get people interested in the next couple of weeks, so we can start airing it hopefully around about November, December time. Hopefully maybe a live episode, you never know.
Yep.
But introducing Dr Martyn Shrewsburry.
Past life regression. I was very pleased to hear Anthony say those things because one of the roots of the belief in past life is shamanic. But there's also a religion in Tibet called Bon, which is the pre-Buddhist religion of Tibet, which is a shamanic tradition.
Yeah.
That's why Tibetan Buddhism is so interesting. You can look at past life regression in a number of ways. You can look at it as exploring our ancestral links. You can look at it and why do I keep doing the same mistake over and over again? And I think it's like a critical path where when we discover that moment, if we know that moment, we change it. So past life regression is about discovering, knowing yourself on an ancestral level. Some people have actually talked about, I suppose, ancestral memory in the genes. This is the beauty of things like shamanism. Anthony and I are talking about the same subject using different words, but essentially we mean the same thing.
Yeah.
And past life regression enables you to perceive yourself as a, as you say, an eternal being, but perhaps sometimes you wear different sets of clothes. One of those sets of clothes is Ian at the moment, one is Anthony, and so on. And so what fascinates me about this is how we get back to that. The big warning I would give you is that past life regression can be a dangerous thing if not done properly. So if you're interested in finding out about past life regression, it is important that you don't do major narcotics. It's a good idea that you're not clinically depressed at the time, and it's a good idea that perhaps you're not going through a major trauma. Apart from that, past life regression is very enjoyable, very entertaining. And some people will remember scenes, perhaps déjà vu. Some will remember particular people. I often think when we meet significant people in our lives, we meet fascinating people.
Can you try the mic slightly closer?
Is that better? When we meet significant people who become our lovers, our girlfriends, our husbands, our wives, or whatever, it's something about that person that strikes us. You made the point about walking along the street and seeing, was that a ghost? Was it a person? Was that person who is significant? So we'd be really interested in having a group of people experimenting with to see what they remember, and we could take up to 15 people. Would have to have a little chat with them first just to make sure that they're not disturbed. I won't ask too many questions.
Yes, some kind of assessment.
An assessment to see if they're suitable for it.
Yeah.
And it would be good if Anthony was there as well to see if there's anything nasty around.
Yeah. So what sort of dangers would doing past life regression therapy be on somebody who has a disturbed mind?
Well, we've all got disturbed minds, first of all. It's the degree to which we're disturbed.
Yes, yeah.
I suppose there is no danger as long as the space is clean, protected. It's got people there who know what is going on, and people are open to it and interested in it. Some people, I say, will get pictures. Some will get will hear things. Some will see things. Some will get a taste. I remember when I was doing a particular workshop on it, that night afterwards, I had a dream that I was in the Warsaw Ghetto. I was a Jew in the Warsaw Ghetto, and the Nazis were coming to get me. We do have Jewish blood going a long way back, and I sort of think, I'm not sure whether that was an ancestral memory, or it was actually a past life. I think you have to be open about that. You will share things like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, would you like as many people as possible to contact you? You know?
Yeah, very
And,
interesting, fascinating.
it's quite interesting. There are stories that the reason Mozart was supposed to be so good at music was because he remembered a past life as a musician. And there are certain talents. There's an old tradition in Wales of a Celtic bloodline that carries the sixth sense, the second sight. And sometimes things like that can be accessed, and sometimes it can help perspectives. It can also help you understand why there are certain people you hate and certain people you were drawn to.
What fascinates me about past life regression is the fact that, you know, the soul,
Yeah.
how the soul decides what body or what character we become through each life, and whether or not we're learning through each life, or whether or not the soul thinks, well, you were this person in the previous life now, and I think you could be better. There's this person or that person. How the soul determines what we learn or what we have learned through each life.
Yeah,
I've always found that fascinating.
what I feel about that is that we actually select our body and select our path. And when we go back to spirit, as I would call it, that we actually got a life plan which is lined up ahead of us. And our spirit helpers, ancestors, but they in spirits actually say, right, this is what you need to learn this lifetime. So you go along, and then this is like right, alright, this is what I need to learn. I'm supposed to be like, sometimes reincarnated and even to addiction or something pretty nasty. That's what it's a life lesson for you to learn from somehow. I know, it's kind of a bit bizarre, but that's the way I feel personally about what it is.
Yeah, I think you're very interesting. It's very interesting that, because if people make the same patterns over and over again, addiction to a particular substance or whatever, maybe an addiction that has appeared in different past lives. You made the point about shamanically, a lot of people go through a time of chaos in their life before they have insight. And that's very, very important in the shamanic tradition.
Yeah.
Time of chaos and disorganisation.
As it's called in shamanism, the wounded healer.
A wounded healer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. We have to be wounded to understand the wounds of others.
Yeah.
There's an old Greek myth about a guy called Chiron, who was a centaur, he was man and horse, and he had a wound in his leg that never healed. And because of that wound, he had insight.
Give the mic a little bit away from your mouth. Sorry about that. It was roughly there. Sorry, buddy. Just not know it sound
Because of that wound, he had insight into other people's suffering. Carl Gustav Jung, the great psychologist, his mother, to all intents and purposes, was a Swiss shaman. His father was a Lutheran pastor in the church, and that was a very interesting background to come from. So there's all these traditions that we don't talk about, but are being taken seriously. And this is why, you know, it's fascinating. So I'm sure if you let Ian know, or anybody here, we can do some investigations into that. And we have Anthony there,
Sure. Alright.
and we can explore
Sounds
and
good.
see what we get.
Yeah.
So shall I hand back to you, Ian, or are you busy over there? You're doing all right.
Sorry about that.